Hi guys, I got a lot of requests for that dress, so today I'm going to be showing you how I made it. For this tutorial, you're going to need 1 yard of fabric, measuring tape, scissors, a sewing machine, pins, and some tailor's chalk. If you want to know what I specifically use, I'm going to link everything in the description box as well. And don't worry if you're a beginner, I'm going to walk you through step by step, so it'll be really easy. Let's get started. Beppo and Nami are here to say hello. Hi guys! First things first, we gotta go get some fabric. When you're looking for fabric, number one, it should be stretchy because then you don't have to deal with like zippers and things like that. So stretch is amazing. It also drapes more nicely on your body. Number two, finding an amazing color that fits your skin tone. I've been into color analysis a lot these days. So yeah, make sure that the color matches your skin tone so it can really pop. To get fabric, I'm actually going to a store called Joann. If you've never heard of the store, it's a craft store with a bunch of things that you can DIY with. I'm talking about like jewelry, clothing, terrariums, anything you can think of. If you don't have a Joann near you, I know there's also Michael's and Walmart. They have some fabric there. But this is what Joann looked like inside, and there's a lot of fabric to work with. I feel like I can spend hours in the store, but what you want to do is go to the apparel fabric section. I like to fill out the fabric, make sure it's good quality, make sure it's stretchable, and make sure it also doesn't pill. You can find out if it pills by just stretching it just a little bit. I also check if a color complements me by literally draping it over my neck and seeing if it makes my face pop. I was really kind of feeling this one, and I think it does make my face pop, but let me know what you think so we can be on the same page. Afterwards, walk it up to this desk and they can cut however many yards you want. 1 yard is usually enough for a dress, but it really depends on your size or like what kind of set you want to do. You can also get more just in case you mess up. So this fabric costed me only $12.75 per yard. The next step is to get all your measurements so the dress could be perfectly tailored to you. The measurements that you want to get is bust, waist, and the length that you want it to be. I usually write these down in a notebook so you can refer to them later. Now we're going to cut out the pattern for the dress. I have this huge artboard here and I love using this because it helps me lay down my fabric nicely, and it actually has a ruler underneath so it helps me align my fabric straight. But first, fold your fabric in half and we're going to make it super smooth. Now if you have a favorite fitted dress, bring that out and you can use that as a reference to draw your pattern. I like to use it to draw the shape but also change up the pattern a little bit. Like this one is too long and I want it to be a little bit shorter. I'm also using a clear ruler because then you can see through it and then you know that you're holding it straight. Using the dress as a guide, I use a seam allowance of 1 inch. That means you just draw 1 inch away from the dress. Okay, so I'm editing this video and I have something really important to say. I realized that for my blue dress, I drew a different silhouette shape. So this is the shape of my blue dress. The bust and hips are fitted, then when I get to my hips, I draw it wider, like half a circle. But this black dress I'm making is a little bit more fitted, so the vibe will be different, but the process is the exact same. I don't know why I changed it up, I'm sorry, but let me show you how to draw that blue dress shape. You see how I folded it here? You're going to need a lot more fabric because the bottom part is wider. This is the shape that you're trying to make, and the widest part at the bottom is 25.5 inches for me. That means you need at least 27 inches of fabric to draw this pattern. Once you draw out the dress pattern, everything else in this video is literally the exact same. What I'm doing now is cutting the top part of my dress. I like to use my ruler and rotary cutter because it helps me cut way straighter. I'm also not cutting out the pattern just yet. I'm cutting a rectangle so I know what I'm working with, and then I can put the extra fabric away. Since we folded the fabric earlier, this is actually one huge fabric and you actually need a front side and a back side. So all I'm doing now is just cutting the edge. Once you cut it, you should have 2 pieces of fabric, which is going to be your front side and back side. Now I fold the fabric one more time where the edges meet like this and try to line it up as best as you can. I try to make sure that all the corners meet, and then I'll use some pins to like pin it all down so that when I'm cutting it, it doesn't move around. If you happen to have the length misaligned like me right here, you can just go ahead and cut it off, which is also why I always recommend to start longer because you can always cut it shorter but you can't make it longer. Now you should have your pattern cut out like this with the front side and back side. We are almost ready to sew. I highly recommend that you pin all the edges down, especially the corners, so that when you sew it doesn't move. Now we just sew down both sides. Oh, alright. Bye, bud. First, if you've never used your sewing machine before, I'm gonna give you a quick tutorial. You're gonna press the on button. I use a Singer Simple, by the way. After you put the on button, we're going to change this thread right here into a black one because I'm using black cloth today. You have your black thread and you put it on here, right? Then you put this cap or whatever. Put this, take this thread, pull this in this loop, go through here, put this down, loop it through here, up to here, and we'll pull it back. Put this through the needle. Pull that over, and that's good. That is your top thread. Now you just open this, take this out, put in a black thread. Back in here. Put this in here. You're good to go. So this is the standard presser foot, but I find that it's harder to use, especially if you don't know how to do a straight line. Instead, you could use this one right here. This one will show you exactly how much seam allowance that you want to use, and it'll help you keep it straight. What you want to do is just take it out like this, and then you just pop this in there. Be careful of your needle, by the way. There you go. Now I have my dress. We're going to use a zigzag stitch using this stitch length and this zigzags right here. Now I put the fabric right underneath the presser foot and right along the guide. My guide is at 5/8, and after a few stitches I also backstitch with this button right here. You only have to backstitch at the beginning and at the end so everything will stay together and basically secures it. Now we're just going to flip this over and do the other side. This is the time that you want to fix stuff before moving on to the next step. I'm actually wearing my dress inside out here. The armpit area was a little too wide, so I'm using my tailor's chalk to mark where I want to sew it. If you want to make it really symmetrical, I highly recommend using a measuring tape so that you can measure both sides and do the same. Whatever you do on one side, do it on the other side. I didn't change my sewing machine settings, so everything should still be the same. Literally just sew right down where you want to sew it and try to line it up with the original seam so it can blend seamlessly. Now we're going to try to clean it up just a bit. You see how the sides are all raw hems? I'm just going to cut it down just a little bit so we can do an overlock stitch. I'm also still using the same machine settings. This time we're using it in an overlocking manner, which means we're keeping this fabric right here, right behind the red line, so it will jump out and in. That way it will close this line completely. See how it jumps out and in? This will basically lock up your stitches. So this is what it looks like before and after overlocking the stitches. Ruching means we're going to gather fabric and have it in the waist to hips area. I'm going to switch it up to stitch length 3 because I don't want it too tight, and I'm going to go back to a straight stitch right here. You're going to sew a straight stitch alongside where you had the zigzag stitch earlier, but not right on top of it. You just want to go down with no back stitching, and I usually like to do this from my waist all the way down to below my hips. This is basically where you want the gathering effect to happen. This gives you 2 loose strings, one at the top and one at the bottom, and you're going to pull it lightly and it'll help you gather fabric just like this. I'm also wearing my dress inside out, by the way. Once you're happy with how it looks, secure the knots, take it off, and then bring it back to your sewing machine and do a zigzag stitch on top. Using one of the scrap pieces from earlier, we're going to make a bow. You can choose how big you want your bow to be, but mine is 23 inches. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is just stretch it, just so it can like curl up some more. Keep stretching it. You see how it curls? This is why I say fabric is important, because it doesn't pill and I don't have to worry about the raw hem. I'm also just making a regular bow here. On the blue dress, I put the bow on the side, but honestly you can put it anywhere you'd like. And once you're ready, you can just sew it by hand. This is what the final dress looks like, and it's more of a bodycon style. And if you did the other shape, it should look like this. Let me know if you have any questions, and you can also find me on Instagram at HangTW.